All right, people. So I'm going to give you guys 10, right? We're going to give a top 10 as far as the most difficult body parts. And for each of them, I'm going to give you guys a scale on 1 to 10. 10 being extremely difficult, 1 being extremely easy in terms of my opinion of drawing these body parts. Okay, without further ado, let's get it started. So let's start off with the hands, the infamous hands, right? If you can't really draw hands, how can you draw Spider-Man? All of this, foreshortening, all that stuff. Foreshortening is when the viewpoint of what you're seeing, the focal point, emphasize more on certain body parts like the hands and feet. This is the main focal point, while everything else seems to be smaller. Gives you that depth of field. Like this, for example. See, that fist is bigger than my actual head, right? That's what's called foreshortening. So we're going to talk about this right here. Drawing hands. For me personally, when it comes down to drawing hands, it is extremely difficult, even to this day. I'm not going to lie to you. I gotten better over time, but as far as doing all this type of stuff, like the fingers and all this stuff, this is coming out, this doing all this crazy stuff, I am still struggling with that, okay? But as far as like balling up the fist, doing this, like, you know, the standard, or holding on to something, let's say, for example, holding on to my sketchbook or holding on to a sword, you know, that's something I can do. Everything else, I cannot, right? So I'm giving you guys my opinion, all right, towards what is difficult for me, all right, being an artist. And share your thoughts down below. What's your most difficult body part? So let's talk about hands. I will give hands, and for all of these, I'm just showcasing, you know, a little bit flexing of the recent designs I've done, right? So 1 to 10, scale 1 to 10, 10 being really difficult, 0 extremely easy, 1 is a breeze. I'm gonna have to give hands a 10 out of 10. I'm not gonna lie. Hands are very difficult. They're very difficult. So I'm gonna leave that as a 10 out of 10 as far as difficulty, right? So let's move on in terms of drawing feet. Feet. Let's go into drawing feet. So feet, funny enough, I've never really had a problem with drawing feet because most of my illustrations don't really require of me to draw feet, because a lot of them are from head to torso or from head to quads or knees. I don't really draw a lot of characters from head to toe. Therefore, I don't really run into drawing feet. But when I get the chance of drawing from head to toe, feet, in my opinion, is not that difficult. Most of the time, the characters are going to wear boots, sneakers, things of that nature as far as accessories. So feet to me is one of those like not popular body part that people draw. Again, unless you're drawing a character that's very whimsical, moving around so much like Spider-Man or the Flash, those type of character designs do require to draw feet. Other than that, for characters just standing, or there's a scenery pose that's going on between multiple characters fighting each other, or just standing as a group, you're not gonna really draw feet. So I'm gonna be biased here. I'm gonna have to put feet, in my opinion, feet will be in the category of it's a 3 out of 10. I don't think feet is that difficult. Now, of course, anything with foreshortening, if you're gonna, you know, draw the feet from showing the bottom foot while it's in motion, of course, that's extremely difficult. But when are you gonna be in situations where you're going to draw that? Again, not that common. That's why I put it as a 3 out of 10. So let's move on. Yujiro Hama. I drew this a few weeks ago. Well, a few months ago. Drawing head. Let's go into drawing the head. Now, what's the difference between drawing the head and drawing the face? Now, face, in case you don't know, faces capture the likeness of the character, right? Head is literally just the positioning of the head. whether it's let me zoom in so you guys can see more, whether it's a front view, right? Side view is what's considered a portrait view, right? That's a side view. Well, portrait. Profile view, right? Side view is a profile view. That's a side view. And then you got 3/4 view. This is the 3/4 view. You don't really see the ear as much. You see the eyes, but it's in an isometric position. It's not symmetrical like the front view. I prefer 3/4 view. That to me is one of the easiest capturing of drawing a character, and it has the most characteristics in my opinion. Is a 3/4 view, then you got the front view, and then the side view, which is the profile view. All right, just want to show you guys that. So let's talk about the head. The head. So just like what's shown there, you also got views where it is a upwards view, which showcase more of the nostrils. You got the downward view, which emphasize on the eyebrows. Now right here, the jawline is a lot smaller. It has more like a diamond type of shape, right? So it emphasizes more on the eyes, eyebrows, hairline goes down more, and then your chin is barely non-existent when it comes down to this type of angle. That is really hard to capture, but when you're able to do that, this angle gives it more like a wolf type of look. It shows furious velocity, anger, determination. This is the pose when it comes down to that. Betrayal, ambition, things of that nature, right? Upwards view here shows the characteristics of someone who is stuck up, someone who's determined, royalty, regal, that type of positioning. And then you got the side view. Side view just looks like you're focusing on whatever you're trying to target and things of that nature. So always keep that in mind. Positionings, especially with character designs, it correlates towards the character's motives and the iconography of the character of who they are, right? So I wanted to explain that. And in my opinion, drawing the head for me, right? I've never really had a problem with drawing the head throughout my years, except for doing this type of angle, which you're seeing right over here, the upwards angle, right? That's tough to do, especially when it comes down to just getting the bottom area. This is tough for people to capture, right? It looks like I'm going like this, but this is tough for people to capture. Because if you're able to get this, you could really showcase a lot of different variety in how you can make character designs much more dynamic. So, the head view, right? On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to be very biased here from my own experience, because this is just based upon my experience. And you share your thoughts of your own experience down below, all right? Give your scale, your rating down below. For me personally, I'm going to give the head view, I'm going to still give it a 4 out of 10, only because of the different angles. Now, if you're going to depict it based upon the front view, 3/4 view, and side view, then I'll give it a 1 out of 10. But if you got to consider upwards view, the bottom view, and then certain views that are very obscure, like the back, and then it shows from a profile from the back view, like something like this, and it showcases that, then I will have to give it an overall 4 out of 10. All right. So let's move on to the next one, and that will be, look at that Attack on Titan Colossus that I made. That will be the face. All right. Remember, I talked about the difference between the head and the face. The head is talking about different views of how you capture the person's angle. The face is more the characteristics of the character, right? We're talking about the likeness of the character, whether or not you're making a portrait, a self-portrait, or overall character design, okay? So that's the difference. So let's talk about that. The face view, right? This is a good example of that, right? This could either be a portrait, self-portrait, things of that nature. So the face view is to capture the likeness. Do you have the whereabouts of capturing someone's beauty or capturing someone's beast, right? Beauty or the beast. Can you make a monster? Can you make a beautiful woman, right? Can you make a baby? Can you make an old man? Are you able to capture that type of likeness? Now, for a lot of people, whether you're an artist or you learn how to draw, this is extremely important to learn, and it's very difficult to capture, especially if you're doing a portrait or a self-portrait. So that being said, for me and my personal art journey, I would say it took me a while to learn how to do self-portraits. I was one of those people where it was easier for me to capture portraits, as in capturing the likeness of someone's face in terms of what I'm seeing from observation. But my own face, it took me some time to learn and to get the hang of that, especially specifically drawing women. That's why I'm showing you guys this as an example. It took me until the beginning of college for me to actually learn how to draw the likeness of a woman. And when you master it, this is where you can draw a woman with no hair, right? Just bald, right? But yet you can still tell it's a woman. So for those artists out there, I challenge you, if you're still learning how to draw a woman, try to draw a woman with no hair. Get rid of the strong characteristics. And if you're able to still capture the iconography of viewers telling that it's a woman, then right there, you pretty much mastered drawing women. And then do things that are unorthodox, like a muscular woman, and still people could tell it's a woman. So that right there is a tell, it's a tall tell, right? And then vice versa, for those female artists, it's hard for them to draw men, right? They make them look more like K-pop stars, where they are lean, skinny aesthetic, but it's hard for them to draw like a big Hulk or Superman looking type of character. So for them, they have to do more things that have a square type of box composition as opposed to a slender, sleek look. Easy for them to draw a sleek look because, women relate to women, but it is hard for them to do a boxy, bulky look. And that's an easy way to depict whether or not you're drawing a woman or drawing a man. So that being said, since that's a lot of people's struggle, and I've struggled with that throughout my years as an artist, I would have to give drawing faces, I'll give it a 7 out of 10. It's one of those hills that it takes a while to climb, but once you climb it, you end up like mastering it, and then you're able to expand upon it, right? So I'm gonna give faces a 7 out of 10. All right, so let's move on to the next. All right, so the next one, we're gonna be talking about hair. All right, infamous hair. So when it comes down to hair, the biggest mistake that I've went through in the beginning phase, all right, of drawing, was that I looked at hair as a detailed composition rather than a shape. What does that mean? So I used to look at the strands of hair to captivate that, and it will overwhelm me. It will take a form of its own rather than just break it into a overall shape and then work on the lights and shadows later, right? So that's a quick tip for people out there who get overwhelmed by hair. I look at hair overall as a shape, like anything, right? Just like if you draw different body parts, it's all just a form. It is a shape. So look at it like that, right? And lights and shadows will come in later, right? So as you can see here, for whoever made this, the beginner phase, as you can see, it's just all lines, right? No, it's best to start off with having a base of the shape and then kind of pull in some lights and shadows from there, right? Give it that contrast. And hair can be difficult. However, when you master the hair, it's adjacent to the character design. That's the epitome of character design. It's their hair, whether they're bald, long hair, short hair. Look at Arcane with Vi and all of the different characters there, right? Jinx, especially Jinx with her long blue hair, that's a strong characteristics of her, right? Not just the hair color, but the shape of the hair. So that being said, I'm gonna give hair, since a lot of people struggle with hair, I struggled myself, I'm gonna give hair a 6 out of 10, because it's something that if you really look at references, you're able to eventually get the hang of drawing hair, right? So I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. Again, share your thoughts down below. All right, so we're gonna move on to face expressions. So this is something that is very difficult for a lot of people. Face expressions, most people rather just draw characters where they're muted, right? They just got the look of this. That's it. There's this. Hunters forcing to squint the eyes like this. I like Zoolander, right? It's just that. That's all they do. They don't do this, that, this, like they cannot do that because it is beyond their capabilities. And I always say, just my advice is to look up anime, look up movies. If you see something that captures your attention, if you're watching on your computer or your phone, pause it and take a screenshot and draw it from observation. That way, the more you start doing that, the more you start understanding the fluidity of face expressions. Now, for me, I've learned a lot from anime, right? I grew up watching, like everybody else, Yu Yu Hakusho, Dragon Ball Z, Rurouni Kenshin, Fullmetal Alchemist, and later on Attack on Titans, and all of that stuff, right? So their face expressions are fully exaggerated. Also, American cartoons as well, right? When you take that, it's in your memory bank, right? It becomes your subconscious to the point where you can just do or captivate different face expressions out of your imagination without the need of looking at references. Again, that's when you master it. Of course, when you first start off, you have to look at observation so it can start become inside your brain. So overall, face expressions, it just brings life into the character. It brings life into it. So a good example of that, let me just show you, because I just grabbed a lot of stuff from the internet. Something like this, right? Like, look at this. This is a really good representation of face expression. You got pleasant, you got looking a little bit curious, you got shocked, right? You got just calm right here, you got bored, you got a little bit upset, you got sad, you got another one that's just shocked, and then you got one that's tired. Like, this is a good representation of different face expressions, and I recommend doing stuff like this on your sketchbook, right? Your sketchbook is literally your practice ground. Have a bunch of sketchbooks, and don't feel like you need to fill out the sketchbook in order to move on to the next. Have multiple sketchbooks and just work on them simultaneously. Like, there is no, don't get intimidated by sketchbooks either. Don't look at it like, and I'm telling this from my own experience, I used to think like that too, with having expensive sketchbooks, thinking, oh my God, this is expensive, I don't want to ruin it. Like, that's the whole point. It's not supposed to be a finished work of art, right? It's supposed to be you just practicing. And it's best to have stuff like this because you're able to continually just practice over and over and over, right? So again, face expressions is extremely important when it comes down to character design, right? So for the most part, I will give face expressions, I'll have to give it a 7 out of 10 because most people struggle with that. So I have to take that into consideration. I struggle with that as well. But again, just like anything, once you master it, you're able to really just have fun with it. Like, you end up doing a lot of quirky, weird face expressions that really, again, brings the character to life. All right, so let's move on. We're going to talk about teeth. Teeth. Now, teeth, in my opinion, I wasn't one of those artists that struggled too much with teeth, right? I mean, in the beginning, I kind of did with what you guys see right here, right? They look like they got a whole row of veneers, right? It looks like it's just like, you know, like in boxing, they got the mouth guard. That's like one of the easiest way of doing it, because less is more. Like if you get too detailed in terms of the teeth, it has a weird uncanny valley to it, right? Even when I'm drawing portraits where I'm trying to make a realistic representation, I still kind of give them a set of veneers. I'm not gonna lie, like their teeth are just straight. I don't try to get too much detail as far as like this tooth is longer here, that tooth is a little shorter here, this one is like, once you get into that, then there's certain things in life where you can't fully replicate life, right? Life has its beauty, and then when you try to depict that into a realistic representation, it just still has that uncanny, unpleasant look to it. So you got to use your creative discernment and be like, you know what, I'm not going to try to fully captivate what I'm seeing, right? So when it comes down to teeth, my advice is less is more. And it's fun though, because you get into this type of nuances where if it's a monster, you can have more fun with the creativity of having shark teeth, right? Or a vampire having a vampire teeth, or aliens where they have multiple teeth, that it's like one of those predators, those type of monsters where they have no lips, so their teeth are just automatically shown 24/7. So again, you can have fun with that, and it's also a representation of the face expression. So face expression and teeth kind of goes hand to hand, especially if the character is upset, they're angry, so they're gonna show their teeth, right? Just like animals, right? So overall, I will give teeth, people drawing teeth, I'll give it a 6 out of 10. I don't think it's one of those cases where a lot of people struggle super hard with teeth. The best advice, start off with making veneers. You don't need to go into every little detail. And then as you get comfortable with that, then you add a little bit more detail over time, right? So I'll give that a 6 out of 10. So let's move on with lips. Lips. Now this here is extremely important if you want to captivate the likeness of certain women, right? Especially if you're starting to learn how to draw women. My advice is to start exaggerating, right? And then when you get more comfortable, then you could kind of be more subtle. Like the lips don't always have to be looking like she got some lip fillers, right? So let's talk about lips, as this is like a muscle mommy that I made recently. Lips don't lie. So of course, with the easy representation, like I said, is to make them plumpy, right? So lips, think about like a heart shape, right? Do like a Cupid's bow, which is right here at the top. Do like a Cupid's bow, and then just make it have volume. Keep looking at references in regards to that. But what's more important is not just the lips, but also if you're going to draw the face, understand the angle, right? Especially if you're drawing it from different angles, understand the position of where the mouth is going to be placed. My advice is start with the mouth, where you're going to keep the line first, right? And then work your way around it. Don't start around it first, because then it's going to look lopsided. Start with the line placement. Think of it like in perspective. You got the horizon line. You just have the line right here that's horizontal, and then you just kind of work your way around it, right? So that's the positioning. Again, one of those things where it is difficult to capture, but I want to say it's a 10 out of 10 difficulty, right? So overall, I will give lips, I'll give it a 6 out of 10. It is difficult, but not extremely difficult. And just on your sketchbook, just keep drawing variety of lips. You got plump, voluptuous lips. You got really thin lips. Keep playing around with that, and eventually you can implement that with your character designs. All right, what's next? We got nose. Nose is a taboo thing, right? Because a lot of people who draw anime, they'll make their nose like non-existent, right? And then when it comes down to like comic book designs, American like comic book designs, they'll make their nose extremely prominent, right? To each its own. Me personally, you should go in between, like what you guys see right there. You should draw the nose. It shouldn't be non-existent. If you get too comfortable with that, then you may lose your structure of actually drawing a nose. So you should learn how to do both. And when it comes down to nose, I would say this, right? Nose is extremely important when it comes down to capturing a woman's likeness. Usually women don't really have big nose. If you want to, and we're talking about ideal, if you want to draw an ideal woman, like this is a good example of that, right? So with anime, the nose again is non-existent. Here is a good balance between the both, right? Showing the nostrils at the bottom and then showing the top part right here, which is always shining at the top, right? So it gives that volume, but the shadow create the contrast at the very bottom where the nostrils are at. Now normally the nose is extremely important because as you get older, especially if you're drawing old people, their nose have more of that wrinkle feel. It's more defined right over here. Or if someone is doing like a snarkle left, like they're upset, this starts to show, right? So you show the lines right there because it represents that face expression, right? So the nose right over here, usually with women, they have softer nose. Think of it like children. They have a softer nose. And then men have more of a robust nose, especially if you're drawing someone from like a side view, like you guys can see here even with my face. The side view has some men like me, we have this arc, right? Also, I got a flat nose, so oh my god, my nose is so flat. But yeah, we have this arc right here. Now some people have an arc, but with women, right, if you want to draw ideal women, they don't have an arc. They have a bit more of a slender, so it kind of just has a curvature, right? I want to showcase that. So yes, nose are important. I don't hear a lot of people struggle too much when it comes down to the nose, unless they want to captivate the likeness of whoever they're seeing, whether it's a portrait, right, or they're trying to capture themselves, which is a self-portrait, like a female artist, right? Overall, I would say, drawing a nose is somewhat difficult, especially like a 3/4 view, side view, especially a side view, and different varieties as far as the age, right? Because a little kid will have a small nose, ideal woman will have a medium to small nose, and then old people or men will have a more robust nose or detailed nose. So we finally sniffed this one out. No pun intended, maybe pun intended. I will give nose a 7 out of 10, only because of capturing the likeness of particular characters or your own type of character design. Let's move on to last but not least. We got to talk about ears. Now, my opinion, I've never really had a problem with ears, but apparently some people do have a problem with ears. It is not because of the definition of the ears, it's more of the size, right? Now, if you ever to do a portrait of me, I have little to no ears, right? As you guys can see here, where are my ears? They're non-existent. That's why I could barely hear properly nowadays, right? Like, what you said? What? Anyway, ears to me, it's important if you ever want to do like elves or characters out of this world, or certain people if you want to do a portrait and they have that Barack Obama type of ears where it stands out. So that is a strong characteristics. Also, I never talked about this too, but when you want to captivate somebody as far as like a caricature, certain people have big ears and you're able to exaggerate upon that when drawing caricatures. So ears are important. However, I would say like in terms of like drawing females, if they have long hair, there are still ways you can mask drawing ears, right? Without the need of drawing ears. If a woman got long hair or person's wearing a hat, but maybe I'm being biased. Maybe it's my own anecdotal evidence. I don't really hear a lot of people struggling with drawing ears as much. As like more people struggle with eyes than ears. That's just my opinion. Eyes are more. Did I even talk about eyes? Wow. I forgot to mention eyes, but I'll mention eyes right now. Right. So eyes is more of a struggle because of the positioning of the face. Right. If you talk about the X and Y axis, certain people, if you don't understand the X and Y axis, certain people have eyes that are closer to their nose, while others is much more separated. Usually the ideal beauty is when the eyes are in between, right? If it's too separated, for some reason people look at it like the person, and this is what I've heard, right? Take it with a grain of salt. But usually when someone has eyes either way too far apart or way too up close, like extremely up close, people refer to them as if they have some sort of a disability, right? So ideal beauty, I don't have ideal beauty, by the way, but in terms of ideal beauty, the eyes are right in the perfect position in between, not too far away, not too close up. Hunter-esque eyes for men, and for women, the eyes are much more bigger and has a almond shape type of proportion, right? So it is what it is, right? But we're gonna go back into ears. Ears to me is not really something that a lot of people, as far as I know, a lot of people struggle with. And again, there are ways in which you don't need to necessarily draw ears. It's not really a body part where it's mandatory as much. But the good news about ears is that you're able to accessorize it, right? You could have a character, like I do it a lot of times, where they have a bunch of piercings all over their ears, right? Or like I said, an elf, or something that gives, again, a strong characteristics of that particular character. So I will give ears, I'll give it a 3. Give it a 3 out of 10. I don't think it's one of those traits where a lot of people struggle. Like compared to hands, I think hands is much more of a formidable opponent. It is much more difficult because there are a bunch of limbs on each one, right? Each finger, it just could take its own independence. Whereas ear, it's just you get the form, right? Let me just get close up there. I got the smallest ears in the world, but you get the form right over here. Then you get this type of U, type of like a capital U, capital Y type of shape, and then you just have a shadow underneath it, right? Like it's not that difficult, and you don't have to go as detailed. But I normally just draw a lot of the ears. It's all out of my head. It's not one of those things where it's the most challenging feature as far as body parsing when you implement it in character designs. All right, so share your thoughts, guys, down below in terms of what is your most challenging body part. Right, I'm gonna read all the comments down below and throw you suggestions of different character designs you guys want me to create, you know, because I have a bunch of them over here, you know, before and afters, and any videos you guys want me to react to as well. All right, so I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.